Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. I just have to fix my camera. It is tilted, poorly adjusted. Hold on. I'm sorry. All right, that'll do. I feel like I'm low, but I don't think I actually am in the final product whatever. So I'm just going to keep it there. Okay, let's hit what I want to hit. Greg Locke, wealth of the wicked will transfer to the righteous. Okay, good. Let's open this puppy, see what's going on. Is there anything super psychotic here?
Now, God is not done with the Jewish people. There will come a time that they will, as a nation, be saved. And so he said, you got to repent. And you have to be converted. Why? That your sins may be not just covered up a little bit like whiteout. No, they'll be blotted out. They'll be taken away. Watch this.
Some time ago, the Lord gave me a word that I spoke over our church. What's this?
Some time ago, the Lord gave me a word that I spoke over our church. You may remember, or you can go back and watch the video, and it was very simplistic. It was that eventually, not this moment, as we can tell, Global Vision is going to enter a season of peace in which we lay down our swords and our shields, and the rivers of God's peace and vindication flow upon us.
I'm going to be vindicated. I swear I'm going to be vindicated. God, he's so cringy, dude. Please. This is Greg Locke. If you're not familiar, he was raided by the FBI recently. According to him, at the very least, he says he was raided by the FBI for financial malfeasance. He stole millions of dollars from the church, to my understanding. I don't know. This is just what I've heard. And this is his first public sermon after announcing that he was raided. So I just want to glance through it. He says God is going to put Global Vision Bible Church in a time of peace where they put down their swords. What does that even mean? Does that mean you're going to stop preaching about, like, the death of people you don't like or whatever?
In a way that silences the mouth of the enemy and increases the joy of the Lord in our lives. Does that make sense?
No.
So we've made that announcement. We've stood upon that declaration for death and life or in the power of the tongue. But I believe that that season of peace is coming because of a season of refreshing. When you go to a ball game, when you go to a movie, when you go to an outdoor event, when we host events here, we have certain stations that are set up for refreshments. Will you go get me some refreshments? Meaning by that, you need something. You desire something to drink. You desire something to eat. You got a sweet tooth. Jesus said, blessed are they that do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall they. And it literally means they and only they, them and only them. They shall be filled. Who gets filled? The hungry and the
your mother.
Thirsty. But the reason we're not hungry and the reason we're not thirsty is because we're already coming to the house of God full of junk.
Okay, right. So he's just saying that they need to stop, like, paying attention to Harry Potter and stuff, right? Okay, awesome. That's fantastic, Greg. So I wrote this program, I call it Briefcase, and it gives me an analysis of all the main points of a video, all the crazy stuff. This one is false prophecy. We have a lot of prosperity gospel in here. I just want to click through and see what he said in this, like, 2-hour live stream or whatever. Okay, what's this say?
But it was a very vivid. It wasn't necessarily a vision or a...
Let's step back here.
I've told you this a long time ago. I'll tell you again. I read the story some time ago and talked to a gentleman that it wasn't necessarily a vision or a heavenly encounter. It was a dream, but it was a very vivid dream. And he died, and in this dream, he was greeted by an angelic host in heaven, and they took him to a warehouse.
A warehouse. They have warehouses in heaven.
Much bigger and expansive and way more heavenly than this. Massive. Seems as if he said it was miles in circumference.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
In this massive warehouse, there was box after box, all shapes and sizes of boxes, but certainly large, extravagant boxes. And he said, after a long time in this encounter with the Lord, I asked my angelic host that was showing me all of these boxes, what are these boxes that my eyes behold? And he simply said with tears in his eyes, these are the gifts that our Father would have given his children if they simply would have asked for them.
Oh, is this prosperity gospel garbage? If you give money to God, God will give it back tenfold or some shit? What's he laying down?
You see, God wants to send revival more than you want it.
Oh, totally. You're not asking hard enough. You just have to ask harder for the things that you want from God. If you're living on the street and you're fucking homeless and you don't have a refrigerator to put food in, or a car to go to work in, or an address to put down to get a job, you're just not asking hard enough.
He wants to save our lost loved ones more than we want him to. He wants people to be saved from hell more than we want people to be saved from hell.
I bet. Weird that God could just do that, just snap his fingers and everyone is saved from hell, right? Why didn't he, when Adam and Eve sinned, quarantine them, put them in America somewhere, and give them a vasectomy so that they can't have children, and create a new breeding pair? Why didn't he do that? Just tweak the design a little so that so God doesn't get hit with a copyright takedown notice for the second pair of humans or something. Why couldn't he do that? I'm just some fucking idiot sitting in my house, and I thought of this all by myself. God couldn't think of this? You're telling me that God created all of this pain and suffering in the world because he didn't think about creating a new breeding pair?
He wants us to experience abundance more than we want to experience abundance.
Then why didn't he fucking do it? Then why didn't he do it? He has had the opportunity to set things in motion to do exactly what he wants done for 6,000 fucking years in Greg Locke's eyes. Why hasn't he done it?
He wants your body to be healed and not broken more than you want your body not to be broken and to be healed in the name of Jesus. God wants to send about a restitution, a restoration, a refreshment, a reviving. But it's something you have to seize by faith. You have to step into it and say, God, I'm going to walk through the door. By the way, when God opens the door, you won't have to kick on it.
Okay.
Hear me? Let me tell you one of the things I found myself doing when all the craziness and the hot water started. And
he's talking about supposedly when he was raided by 60 FBI agents. I don't know that that's true, but I don't know why he would have said it if it hadn't happened. I mean, he's made things up before. He's claimed he was in the middle of a lawsuit that he was absolutely not involved in at all. I know because I checked. He said he dissolved 501c3 status and started paying taxes again. He did not. You know, he lies egregiously. And I think he justifies those lies by claiming the rights to theocratic warfare. Like, you're fighting an enemy, you have the right, in his mind, to lie and cheat and steal and manipulate and do whatever it takes to accomplish your goal. So that's what he does. He lies and cheats and manipulates and steals, apparently, if this FBI raid is to be believed, to keep his church on, quote unquote, the right track and keep enemies out of the church.
we was going to have to find a building and all that kind of stuff. I found myself calling, knocking, working, praying, going, doing.
Oh my God, yes. How many fucking verbs are you going to lay down? Please, we get it.
And because of that, fretting when it didn't work out the way I thought it should. And God said, stop trying to make something happen. Let me give you some wisdom.
Okay, I think he's talking about how he tried to get a new church building because they moved from Mount Juliet, Tennessee, I think, to Lebanon, Tennessee. And he didn't have a church building. When he moved, he had to get a church building, right? So what's the first thing he does when he moves to Lebanon, Tennessee? He buys himself a $1.6 million home. And he bought the church nothing. The church still doesn't have a building. This is a rental until they get a permanent structure. 1.6 million fucking dollars, okay? That is so much money. That is more money than I would argue most people probably see in a lifetime. But aside from all of that, that's the basis for the supposed FBI raid. The financial malfeasance, the financial mismanagement, and not being open and honest about what his financial books say.
Fretting when it didn't work out the way I thought it should. And God said, stop trying to make something happen.
So the point is, he says he put a lot of time and effort into trying to find a church building, and he was fretting, and he just couldn't figure it out, and God said, just chill out, don't worry about it. But how quickly did he find a house, a $1.6 million house for himself? He could find a house, but not a building to host his ministry in? Really?
Let me give you some wisdom.
Wisdom from Greg Locke.
In a business, if you have to make it happen, and you have to do it in a moment's notice, or it can't get done, both of those are pretty good signs you shouldn't do it.
Okay.
If somebody says, all right, you got 5 minutes to make up your mind, I'm like,
yeah, absolutely. Don't fall for that shit. They're doing that shit on purpose. It's a bad deal if you're hearing that from someone.
well, I think I'll take 5 hours and not make up my mind. Don't you rush me. I do things fast, but you can do things so fast that you're unwise. If you have to keep making that call, if you have to keep beating down the door, listen, if God opens the door, man can't shut it, and if God shuts the door, you can't open it. And if you do, you'll wish to God you hadn't.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but anyway, that's Greg Locke. What a sack of shit, genuinely. Wait, let's see, what's this say? This is his wife, Ty Locke.
That you have stored up the wealth of the wicked for the righteous. And we decree and declare that the wealth of the wicked is about to flow unto the righteous. Oh God, that you're gonna open up the windows of heaven.
Yeah, their belief is that money that you own, being a wicked person, obviously, is going to leave your bank account and enter Greg Locke's bank account.
That you're gonna pour out a blessing that we cannot contain. So we look unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. I can't take more of that. Just tell me what you think in the comments. All right, let's hit Doug Wilson. This one is fucking bizarre. Genuinely, absolutely bizarre. Doug Wilson did this interview with the host of a podcast, Uncloseted, I guess. I'm not sure who it is, but he said homosexuality should be banned in the United States. It should be illegal to be gay. And this dude, with a completely straight face, gets Doug Wilson to say absurd stuff about it. So let's listen.
First, you've made a lot of headlines this year in particular.
So let me turn this up. Hold on.
Because in February you were...
All right, there we are.
First, you've made a lot of headlines this year in particular because in February you were a guest pastor for the Pentagon's newly instituted monthly Christian worship service where you prayed alongside Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Hegseth closed the prayer by putting his hand on your shoulder. That's pretty kind of major to get that high up in the federal government.
Fucking gigantic. Yeah, he is Pete Hegseth's pastor, is who this guy is on the right. I probably should have mentioned that.
How did you develop your relationship with Hegseth and subsequently get invited to this, very high-level prayer?
Yeah, I'll give you a telescope version of that. Before Pete Hegseth was the Secretary of War, he was with Fox News. he was involved in making a documentary on the state of education in America, and met a friend of mine, David Goodwin, who is the CEO of the Association of Classical Christian Schools, which is an organization
OCCS? Ox? Okay.
I founded. He was so impressed by that kind of education that he moved to Tennessee to enroll his kids in a school like this, but he was still working for Fox. So he'd fly into Tennessee on Sundays, and the only church that was open in the afternoon was a CREC church, which is the denomination that I'm in. And after...
Okay, I get the impression that Pete Hegseth is a true believer, right? That he's like a diehard believer. Like, some of these people, you cannot convince me they believe any of this shit. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Don Jr., Eric Trump, like, they give a fuck about Christianity, please. You know, they go on Julie Green's program, that ridiculous prophet of God who prophesies over Donald Trump all the time. And they're like, I completely believe it, Julie. I totally believe it. I believe every word you're saying right now. They're so full of shit, right? But Pete Hegseth, he strikes me as a true believer.
He was appointed as Secretary of War. He moved to D.C., and I was in the Nashville area and filled the pulpit at that church, Pilgrim Hill Church. And as it happened, the Hegseths were back in Nashville. I met him there at church, and we visited for a few minutes. Mm-hmm. And then we planted a church service in Washington, D.C., a little over a year ago. So he's been coming to that church service. I've met him a couple of times there in D.C., and of course I met with him when he invited me to the Pentagon. But that's the extent of our meetings. Like,
okay, I don't like. Here's what I know about that. I don't trust this guy as far as I can throw him. I don't believe a word out of his fucking mouth, especially because I have actual video footage of him shaking Pete Hegseth's hand on video. Hang on. Here, right here. Look, this is Doug Wilson. This is Pete Hegseth shaking hands, saying hello. After Doug Wilson, Doug Wilson was the pastor that gave the sermon up here. And I believe Pete Hegseth gave a guest sermon at Pete Hegseth's church, if I'm not mistaken. And look, they're talking. They're standing around talking with his wife and everything. So if Wilson is trying to imply that he doesn't know Pete Hegseth very well or whatever, he's trying to distance himself from him, give it a fucking rest, okay? We know that you're the dude's pastor. And aside from all of that, Pete Hegseth listens to Doug Wilson. He agrees with Doug Wilson. He thinks he's on point with his assessments, so it's completely fair to be fucking disturbed by what Doug Wilson says because of the level of power that he holds, because of the level of influence that he holds.
Three times, maybe four. There's reports that he considers you his spiritual advisor. What does that mean exactly?
I'm not a policy advisor, but it would be the sort of thing where if he were in some sort of newspaper conflagration over something or other, I'm functioning currently in a pastoral role. As it happens, this coming Sunday, the Washington, D.C. church service is going to be installing a pastor there. So for the first year or so, our church here in Moscow was sending and recruiting people to come and preach there. But they will have a full-time pastor starting this next Sunday.
Wow.
In D.C., Washington, D.C. will have an official full-time pastor. Jesus fucking Christ.
And you've spoken about how, you know, although President Donald Trump is not an evangelical by any stretch, you said, quote, his administration is full of them. So how many kind of folks in his administration do you reckon are aligned with your church and might attend the church service that you guys are putting on in D.C.?
I do know that if Kamala had been elected, the White House would have been pretty evangelical free. She would not
I don't believe that. I mean, Kamala Harris is religious. She's a believer, right? As was Joe Biden. Joe Biden was like a deep believer in Catholicism. It wouldn't be free of evangelicals. It would be free of Christian nationalist extremists. Like two different groups, you know? Evangelicals are kind of definitionally right-wing, out of their fucking gourds, obsessed with controlling everything and everybody. Nationalists. So, sure, maybe your brand of Christianity, where you believe you have to control the state as a religious mandate, wouldn't be represented. But it shouldn't be, ever, by anybody.
Not have been hiring people like me, but the Trump administration just has quite a few conservative Christians working there. And in our DC church service, there are a number of people that are either working for the government, you know, they're assigned to the Pentagon, or they have roles in the administration. Yeah.
More than 10, more than 20? Roughly how many would you say?
I would say, I would say between 10 and 20.
Wow, in the actual administration.
I would say between 10 and 20 in the government.
Just a quick reminder for editing purposes. Maybe cut this section out if it's not that interesting, because it's about to get absolutely insane. And that may be a better opening hook.
In the government, got it. And who else in addition to Hegseth would be part of that?
Sure.
Actually, let me just jump forward. Yeah, let's start right here.
Cool. So yeah, obviously we're going to focus on some of the things you've said in that realm, right?
Right.
And one of the things you've said is that there should be anti-sodomy laws and other prohibition on sexual behavior in all 50 states. So sodomy obviously gets thrown around as a buzzword. What do you mean exactly by that when you said it should be illegalized? Are we talking about anal intercourse between two men, or what exactly do we mean by sodomy?
Oh boy.
Right.
Getting him to get really specific. I love it. He's saying this with a completely straight face, too, notice. The dude on the left, completely straight-faced. Everybody knows what this means.
Let me make a distinction and then back up and then answer your question. The distinction is there's a difference between politics, which is the art of the possible. You know, what proposals am I proposing right now? And secondly, what is my sketch of an ideal Christian republic 250 years from now?
So he's saying there's a difference between what I'm reaching for and what I can realistically get right now. Yeah, I know that. I mean, everybody knows that. Why did he even make that distinction? I'm worried about what you're shooting for right now. I'm worried about what you're shooting for right now and what you're shooting for, you know, long term. Long-term goals, short-term goals, both scare the shit out of me.
Those are two separate things.
Even if it's 250 years from now, what specifically do you mean by that? Like, what becomes illegal when it comes to sodomy laws?
I would regard sodomy as male-to-male intercourse, anal intercourse, or oral intercourse.
Would hand jobs count, or just,
Okay, he's saying this with a straight face, dude. I love this.
just anal and oral?
Yeah, between two men.
Between
Yes.
two men. Yeah,
Right.
hand jobs as well.
Hand jobs, oral sex, and anal intercourse.
I need more specifics, please. Tell me the other activities that we cannot take part in under your system. I want to know more. Please lay it down for me.
Got it.
Would be sodomy.
Okay.
In the old order, the legal definitions of sodomy would have included oral foreplay between a married heterosexual couple, right. So
That's true. Yeah. Sodomy basically in law, to my understanding, means any activity that is not intended to produce a baby between anybody. So he's saying that this hyper specifically applies to gay people and not anybody else, right? Got it.
I think that there were definitions of sodomy that went beyond Scripture.
So you're okay with heterosexual people and oral foreplay or those sorts of things if they're married? Got it.
Right.
And then what about women on women lovers? Like if is oral sex okay for them under these laws or no?
Well, okay is too loosey.
Yeah, but would you, in
Too loosey.
your ideal world 250 years from now, would that be illegal across all 50 states?
No, and this is going to be interesting because I'm a Bible guy. If you go through the law of Moses, you won't find any legal prescription of lesbianism.
Okay. So you're saying you won't find anything that says it's okay specifically, right? But you won't find anything that condemns it. First of all, and second, why the fuck are we following the old law? Jesus fulfilled that shit. We don't follow the old law anymore. That's why we can wear cotton and linen blends and eat shellfish and pork. The exact same reason why we don't, or the exact same reason why it's irrelevant to gay issues. But okay, just keep cherry picking your favorite parts that make you feel good instead of following the actual doctrine laid out in the Bible. Fine.
This brings us up against the difference between a sin and a crime. There are things that are manifestly sinful for every Bible-believing Christian, which I believe ought not to be criminal. You don't have any penalty in the Old Testament attached to lesbian behavior.
But in his mind, you do for male gay behavior. So male gay people should be put to death then. Am I reading this correctly? Again, why are we following the Old Testament laws?
Would have been considered a sin, a form of sexual immorality, but not criminal.
Why? How did he get there? How did he conclude it's considered a form of sin? That doesn't make any sense. Where does it say that in the Bible?
Got it. So then in your ideal world, gay men engaging in sexual behavior would be illegal under sodomy laws across all 50 states. You've mentioned, though, that you wouldn't want it to be too heavily enforced because you don't want to create a, quote, sexual Gestapo. So how exactly would this be enforced?
Well, I would say that the main enforcement mechanism would be social expectations and a withholding of societal approval. It would be sort of back in the closet, boys, sort of thing. Not because of fear of legal retribution, but because this is simply not done.
Oh, well, that makes everything much better.
But that's different than what you've said in the past. You said sodomy laws, right? So would it be illegal, or are you kind of walking back that? So then,
No, I'm not walking it back.
Okay.
I think it ought to be the society needs to express its disapproval of this behavior in law, right?
So then, if it's a law, what's the punishment if somebody makes that act, which would be illegal? What would the punishment be?
So the punishment would vary. I'm reluctant.
Just fucking say it. My God. Do you not have the twig and berries to stand by your beliefs?
To give the government excess powers of invading private homes.
Oh, yeah. This is small government Doug Wilson, right? He's a small government guy. That's a good point.
Okay. So just theoretically, I get caught having sex with my boyfriend. What happens to me? What is the punishment?
In the 1980s, it was a movement called Christian Reconstruction. And the Christian Reconstruction...
Why the fuck do I care about fucking Christian Reconstruction? Just get to the point, bro. Why isn't he just laying it out for us? I don't understand.
Constructionists wanted to take the Old Testament law sort of with a grappling hook and bring it over and drop it down on modern society. And that would mean the maximum penalty there for homosexual behavior would be execution. And so there were debates among the Reconstructionists of, do we have to stone the homosexuals? And there were some people saying, well, firing squads are okay because they're throwing very tiny stones at a high rate of speed, but they were talking about execution. in that debate back then, I pointed out that King Asa and King Jehoshaphat in the Old Testament closed the bathhouses and they exiled the Sodomites from the land, and their behavior is praised in the text. So that told me that execution, although a lawful penalty for homosexual behavior, was not the minimum penalty, it was the maximum penalty.
And do you believe
Okay. Interesting. I suppose that's a fair reading, that it can be on a spectrum, right? And not all gay people should be put to death from a biblical perspective. But honestly, I think we should be looking to the Jewish community for the correct interpretation of those Old Testament texts, because they have a long tradition going all the way back of interpreting them a very specific way. And modern day Christianity is completely twisting the Jewish community's understanding and interpretation of what the Old Testament says. And either way, it doesn't even fucking matter. Again, Old Testament was fulfilled, done away with. We don't follow it anymore because Jesus died and fulfilled it.
that still, that in your eyes, the maximum penalty for homosexual behavior in an ideal world, in Pastor Wilson's ideal world, would be execution?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. If you ask me, could you ever envision a homosexual crime of any nature being visited with the death penalty? Yes, I could.
You, in other words, want to create a law where, a real law in this country eventually, where the maximum penalty for me having sex with my boyfriend would be my execution. I just want to make sure that's clear.
That's
No? Are you kidding? That is literally what he just said.
why I wanted to finish this scenario.
Oh, fucking please. You didn't have an opportunity to finish, right?
I do want to.
Yeah, totally.
That's clear.
That's why I wanted to finish this scenario. I do want to create a society where the maximum penalty for a Roman Catholic priest molesting or raping an altar boy
That has nothing to do with being gay.
is solved and addressed with a tall tree and a short rope.
Okay, that's an old callback to racist KKK lynchings. What he just said, tall tree, short rope. But aside from that, I don't think that the death penalty is the solution to anything, because you can never be 100% certain you got the right guy. 4% of the people on death row are innocent, completely 100% wrong person, wrong time, innocent. And until that number is 0, the death penalty is unacceptable in my mind.
Right. That's pedophilia, though, which is, of course, different than homosexuality.
Right.
But it's a species of homosexual behavior. So let's say it's a Roman Catholic priest and a 15-year-old boy, or there's all kinds of variations of human behavior. But there are homosexual crimes that I would want, that are egregious enough that I would want to execute the person for.
So you see pedophilia as an element of homosexuality, is that right?
Yeah, if we're talking about the alphabet people,
What a piece of shit, dude, really.
right?
You're referencing LGBTQ community?
LGBTQ plus. What's under the plus?
QIA, questioning, intersex, asexual, I think. Or otherwise. Pedophilia is not included in that umbrella. I know that he thinks it is, but it's not. That's unacceptable, has always been unacceptable to the LGBT community. Not one LGBT person that I have ever met has been okay with that. This is right-wing propaganda leaking out of his fucking brain right now.
What's
under the plus? Not pedophilia. Would you consider adding a P? Do you think a P is meant under that umbrella of LGBTQ?
Absolutely.
That's complete and total. This is just right-wing propaganda. That's it. There is no critical thought to this. The fact that he said those words, the fact that he just said that, tells me that he is propagandized pretty much 24/7. Nobody believes that.
You do, because you conflate
that's-
lesbians and gay people with like kind of akin to pedophiles, people who
I
rape children.
I don't think that I'm making that association.
You are.
I think the LGBTQ plus acronym, that whole chain,
Nope.
is sort of a sexual alliance of people who are defying traditional biblical norms. And pedophilia is one of those things that defies those norms.
Do you see
Okay. God, I don't even know. Like, what a psychotic thing to say. I was trying to think of an example. Like, murder also defies those norms. So, do you think that that fits in, like, under that umbrella as well? All kinds of things defy biblical norms, quote unquote, in his mind. It doesn't mean they fit under an umbrella.
like two men having sex as equally sinful as a man raping a girl?
Yeah, they're both violations of God's law.
Obviously,
Wow, what a psychotic thing to say.
if you're seeing both of these as sinful, pedophilia and homosexuality, this is a very big concern for you, I would imagine, in society, right? So
Correct.
I wanted to ask, like, you know, in March, I'm sure you've been following this, the Supreme Court overturned Colorado's ban on conversion therapy. And you've called Canada's conversion therapy ban a, quote, wretched and misbegotten law.
I mean, like, with conversion therapy, the question is, does it actually do anything? Does it actually accomplish the goal that they want? The answer is no, it doesn't. It does not accomplish their goals. It makes everybody more miserable. It's literal torture. Unacceptable. I don't understand why anybody would be in favor of this if it didn't actually, like, accomplish the goals that you're shooting for either way.
What
did.
in your church, right, as the lead pastor, if somebody comes to you saying, I'm attracted to the same sex, should they be allowed to go through conversion therapy? And if so, what is the most effective form of conversion therapy in your eyes?
I'm a pastor of hundreds of people, and I'm a pastor to people whose sexual temptations are homosexual. I've counseled people in that position and have seen them arrive at victory over those temptations.
What does that mean, victory over those temptations? Does that mean that they don't have those temptations anymore? People just aren't gay anymore? Or does it mean they're just not living with a boyfriend or something? The fact is, this is just how people are. This is how they're born. There is no changing that with conversion therapy or any other type of therapy. And there's honestly no reason to even try.
See it based on the science and, you know, methodologically sound evidence-based research as a discredited practice. But I want to know from your perspective, what works?
So what works is Jesus Christ.
No.
Jesus Christ forgives sin, and Jesus Christ empowers us to overcome sin.
In layman's terms, if you can, right? Are you just saying pray? Or is there more to it? Like, what else? Do you give them assignments? Do you give them homework? Are there things they need to do? Or is it simply just pray, 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 pray?
Yeah, it would be easy to sort of dismiss what I'm saying as sort of pray the gay away.
Well, what else is it? It's obviously just that. Do you have something more? Why didn't you give us a specific list of shit for people to do to not be gay anymore if you had a list?
So when I'm counseling someone who is struggling with this and wants out, one of the places I start is with that person's relationship with his father, that person's relationship with his mother.
Oh my God, dude. Fucking please. See, this is what pop psychology gets you. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about. And you think you do. And that ends with ridiculous fucking conclusions like, this dude had a bad relationship with his dad, and that's why he's gay.
That person's upbringing Do you have a healthy relationship with your father? Do you hate your mother? It's not like, what do you do when you're horny? If you just start there, you're healing the wound lightly, basically.
Have you ever
So you're saying you give actual real psychotherapy to people? That's what it sounds like he's saying to me. Is he licensed to do that?
experienced same-sex attraction?
No,
Never.
no.
No.
Just dead fucking silent. What the hell is happening? Just dead silence. I think that question made Doug uncomfortable.
Got it. And
Oh my god, dude, that's funny. I love that shit. One more time.
No,
never.
no.
No. Got it. And so when you
Dude, I love how fucking I'm sorry. I love how fucking deadpan and 100% serious this dude is through the entire interview. He is so like, God, what's the word I'm looking for? He's playing this off like he's just like God, I can't even describe it. He's just completely deadpan. That's just the best.
when they come, right? If say somebody comes to you and says, Pastor Wilson, Pastor
Oh, he's fucking with him now. He is absolutely fucking with him.
Wilson, I am experiencing this and I love your church, but I'm happy. I have a boyfriend. Do they stay in the church or what happens?
Such a person would not be allowed to become a member.
Okay.
Okay. But that such a person would be welcome to attend as often as they wanted. You're welcome to attend, but if you were a member, there's a commitment to becoming a member, and that commitment means living as a Christian is obligated by the Bible to live.
Got it. And okay, so Obergefell, yes, I know you wanted to talk about that because you said in the here and now that's something that you would want overturned.
Obergefell was the Supreme Court ruling that allowed gay marriage, if you were unfamiliar.
One of the reasons I would go to Obergefell as one of the action points is I think that is actually a possibility. Just like Roe was overturned, I think Obergefell could be overturned, and it might be a matter of as few as 2 Supreme Court justices.
When you're in D.C. or when you're, helping with prayer with Hegseth or other folks in the administration, are there rumblings that there's possibility that that's within reach?
Yeah, I've not had any conversations like that with administration officials, but I have certainly written a lot about it, and I know that I'm read by people in powerful places.
Yes, absolutely, he is. Very influential people.
Of course, because if they align with you ideologically, then they must want that too, I would imagine, if they share the same belief systems as you know.
I'm not plotting with administration officials to make a move on Obergefell, but I am very vocal about it. So I think repealing Obergefell is an attainable goal in our current climate.
When it comes to the
I agree. I think that Obergefell could very easily be reversed any day. I think it absolutely could.
legal issue behind it, what would be the kind of roadmap to overturn it?
I think there'd have to be an increased number of conservative Christians in the Senate. You would have to have trained, capable judges who were evangelical Christians who had been operating at lower courts, who were in a position to be nominated to that position and survive the character assassination battle, before Senate confirmation hearings were all about abortion. I think the next ones will be about Obergefell.
The fact is, it's very hard to reverse a right granted by the Supreme Court after it was granted. I think abortion was maybe the first right to be reversed ever that was granted by the Constitution like that. I'm not 100% sure if it was the first, but I think it was. Anyway, the reason for that is to remove a right or to make a Supreme Court ruling or whatever, to have a case at all, you have to be injured in some way by somebody, by something, to just bring the suit in the first place. You can't just bring suit for no fucking reason. Who's going to be injured by a gay person getting gay married? Nobody. Nobody is injured by that. The abortion rights thing was not reversed even in a traditional way. It was changed so that states decide. The federal government didn't say no abortion. They said, we're not going to rule on abortion anymore. So they didn't even, strictly speaking, remove a right officially. They just withdrew their voice from saying whether that right should exist, which in itself is a big deal. Reversing Obergefell is going to be very, very difficult for that reason. I'm actually going to use the bathroom real fast. I'll be back in 30 seconds, okay? How long do we have on this? Yeah, okay. I'm going to let it play for a second. I'll be right back.
And,
you do?
Yeah, I do. I think that is going to be the issue. And so if you have more Christians in the Senate, if you have Christian men nominated, and the Senate has the kind of people who don't fold under pressure, then it is a doable thing.
All an interesting perspective. You've spoken less about transgender people.
Yeah.
I want to know your thoughts. What, in your ideal world, what would happen to people who are trans? Do they have a place in society? What's your view?
Yeah. This is no way to talk about it without talking about it. I think transgenderism is simply sad. I don't think that it should be elevated to a category given equal carved out rights. I think they should be treated with love and compassion and help and counseling.
About 1% of the population identifies as trans, and the vast majority of those people, once they, get past stigma, live their lives healthily and happily. So I'm unclear what your issue is with it.
The man is the image and glory of God, and the woman is the glory of the man. I believe God created us in such a way as to reflect His glory, and the transsexual movement, I think, is a movement away from that glory. And so when I
Anyway, if you want to see more of that, let me know in the comments. I'll probably watch the rest of this on my Owen Unfiltered YouTube channel. By the time you see this video, it may already be out, so check that out. Okay, I'm going to call that one there, and now we're going to cover Flashpoint. Bit of a slow news week. I didn't want to do things that... I didn't want to talk about subjects that aren't interesting, so this might be slightly shorter. That was an interesting interview, though, honestly. Hold the phone. Gotta put these puppies in my ears. All right. Got these bad boys locked and loaded. Oop, not anymore. They're no longer locked and loaded. Okay, I'm gonna come back to this for sure. All right, let's talk about Flashpoint real fast. Let me mark down my timestamps. That was 50. Doug Wilson, and then Flashpoint. Awesome. All right. It's a TV show called Flashpoint. They are pro-Trump theologists. Basically, they believe Trump is like literally the second coming of Jesus. Like a theological loophole that makes Trump the son of man, who's going to bring about the apocalypse and bring about God's kingdom on earth and the whole nine. Anyway, that's the type of thing that these people believe. I want to listen to what they have to say here. Because I've noticed this interesting trend in the media attacking Islam. Like, Islam doesn't affect us pretty much at all in the United States right now. Why are they talking about Islam so much? Listen to this.
No, but you're talking about a theological...
No, I'm sorry. Let me find the right one. This is Rapert with the T. I think it's this one. Yeah, this is the one I want to start with. Here we go.
Happening in another country. But this is the warped worldview that they have, and this is exactly what we need to understand. They don't think like us. And so when we elect politicians who don't understand how the Middle East works, they're either too scared or they're kicking the can down the road. They don't have the courage to do what needs to be done. And after 47 years, when the Iranian regime has just gotten stronger and more vicious, it is really time to stop them, because we got to do it for our own kids.
We have to stop Iran. We have to go to war with Iran and spend hundreds of billions of dollars, literally hundreds of billions, on murdering people in the Middle East for our children. That's going to help our children to do that, you see, okay?
Imagine what they're doing to these churches in Iran. If they have a nuclear weapon, imagine what they would do with this nuclear weapon around the world.
No, without a doubt, without a doubt. Listen, President Trump posts this on Truth Social. From this point forward, anytime the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, whether it be by missile, rocket, drone, or any other device or weapon, the United States will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including those located next to or in the capital city of Tehran.
Here's the thing. Iran doesn't want a nuke. They haven't wanted a nuke this entire time, but they use it as a bargaining chip. Every time they want something, rumblings that they might get a nuke kind of pass through political circles. And Republicans are playing right into it. It genuinely blows my mind that they are feeding into this, that they are helping Iran demonize people like that. Or I'm sorry, that they are helping Iran spread the idea that Iran is trying to get a nuclear weapon so that they can get concessions. What was the Iran nuclear deal? It was an attempt to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon. But there's already a fatwa on nuclear weapons. Iran has a religious rule saying no nukes. They have no plans of getting nukes. They use it as a bargaining chip. They have always used it as a bargaining chip. And Republicans are allowing that to happen because they want more money for the war machine. What would we really want to accomplish if, we sat down at a negotiation table to try to get something out of Iran? What would I try to get? I don't give a fuck about the nukes because they don't give a fuck about the nukes. What I would care about is reducing their terrorism spending, their funding that they send to, terrorist organizations around the globe, harassing neighboring countries and stuff like that. If I could get anything from Iran, it would be that. I do not worry about Iran getting a nuke. I have never worried about that, and I don't now.
David, in this...
Anyway, I found it really interesting what these people had to say. Listen to this. This is, I believe this one is Jason Rapert with a T. Rapert, telling us about how bad Iran is and why it's such a problem in the world.
I think Americans have had enough, just like I said for myself. My entire adult life, I have watched the news, and Iran has been at the root. David Bartlett said it just earlier in this program. They are involved in all of the greatest terrorist acts that we have had to put up with for the past several decades.
No. What terrorist acts do you think Iran was involved in that the United States was victim to? They aren't even the same branch of Islam as the 9/11 hijackers.
I want to say this, Gene, to make it real to you, what this means to people that have been affected by what the Iranians have done. They have funded Hezbollah in Syria, in Lebanon.
That's true.
They have funded Hamas and the attacks that came in Israel October the 7th a couple of years ago. I just spoke on Capitol Hill this week with Representative Marlon Stutzman and Representative Josh Burkeen at an event to address the genocide against the Druze, the Alawites, and the Christians in the Suwaida region of Syria.
Okay, wait. What's the point here? There's a genocide happening in Syria. Okay. I don't even know that that's true. I don't have reason to believe Jason Rapert on anything he says, but what does that change anything at all about our situation? I don't understand what point he's even making.
That those militants have been funded by Iran. And here's where it gets really, and I'm going to try to say this in a way that won't offend too many people out there.
Oh, yeah, because you don't like offending people.
But when you look in the eyes of a man who relays the story of a young woman being raped 40 times by 40 men.
What's he even talking about? Is he like making up a fictitious scenario right now? Or like, I don't understand.
In front of her father. And then they slice this woman's breasts when they're done.
The fuck is he talking about?
And they're doing all this as they praise Allah Akbar, as they're praising God in their Islamic way. This is the face of true barbaric behavior. Donald Trump is giving a gift to our children and our grandchildren by ensuring that this job is finished.
Okay. Here's the hilarious part about this ridiculous story that he just told. Apparently blaming all of Iran, everybody in the country, for, was this a fictitious scenario? I don't even know if this was real. He's saying this is a problem because religion-inspired violence. Religion-inspired violence. From Jason Rapert. He is complaining about religiously motivated politics. Are you fucking kidding me right now?
Yeah, he was exactly right.
And here's the even more ridiculous part. Minutes before Jason Rapert with a T said that on air, they played this video.
About their policies, an eye for an eye. The president's policy is a head for an eye. I mean, honestly, that's what it's going to be. I mean, they will pay a very heavy price for the things they're doing. They're already paying a...
So he's quoting the Bible, an eye for an eye. And he says, we're going to follow the Bible's prescription for justice to an intense degree, to a more intense degree. Jason Rapert just said Iran is bad for being a theocracy. And literally minutes before he said that, they were praising Marco Rubio for using a religious justification for war. You got to be kidding me with this. These people cannot be fucking real. Absurd.
Very heavy price. You guys don't know it because you don't cover it. You're not in Iran. You're not.
Oh yeah, fake news, right? Fake news. Everything. All news is fake. Anyway, check this one out. This is David Barton minutes later. Once again, same little cluster in this video.
Problem here. Their theology says, hey, our Messiah won't come back until we've all slaughtered and been slaughtered, and we have to have war because that's what brings back our Messiah.
Right.
That's a theological understanding that most people in the Western world go, say what? I don't think I understand that.
Okay, so David Barton is now saying we have to fight Iran, or he's saying, I don't like what Iran is doing for theological reasons. They're doing this for theological reasons.
And so for them, death and destruction results in salvation, can we say?
Well, now, let me just lay out the actual Christian nationalist belief on the Middle East. Do you know why Christian nationalists support Israel so fervently? Because a lot of these people holds to this belief that basically says Jesus can't return to earth until Solomon's third temple is built. They have to build Solomon's temple in Israel before Jesus comes back. He will return at the site of Solomon's temple. Now, unfortunately, there's something in the way at the moment. It's called Al-Aqsa Mosque. So to actually rebuild Solomon's temple in the Middle East, they would have to destroy one of the holiest sites in all of Islam. Don't forget, Islam is something like 1 billion people strong. So these Christian nationalist extremists are intentionally setting out to wreak havoc in the Middle East, to bring about the War of Armageddon, so that the temple will be built and Jesus will return. That is the explicit stated goal of these people. Like, this isn't even hidden. This isn't hard to find. Read about the Red Heifer Project, or the Red Heifer... Yeah, I think it's called the Red Heifer Project. I did a video about it on my main channel. To listen to David Barton or any of these other people say that Iran is the problem and they're starting religious wars is fucking mind-blowing to me. You cannot be serious with this shit. They are literally doing exactly that.
I mean, we believe that's a deceiving spirit. It's certainly not biblical, Old Testament, New Testament, Christian, Jewish, nothing in that direction, but that is the theology. And that is the greatest driver of behavior. Now, the other thing that's complicating a lot of things right now is in the last 14 or so days that we've gone back to war against these guys, what's happened is every time they turn on their radar to track either a ship or one of our planes, we take them out. At that point, when that radar comes on, that spot no longer exists. So what they've done in recent days is they've shifted over to some Chinese technology.
Oh, fucking please. Yeah, David Barton has the bead on Iranian, like, strategy or whatever. And he just knows, this is secret information that only he knows, you see. Nobody else is aware of this, but he's giving you the real information here, that Iran is secretly working with China. No evidence of that, of course, but he just knows it.
That allows them to track without using radar, and it's something that we can't pick up and detect. So they're becoming a little more dangerous, if you will. But see, they don't even show an inclination yet to be ready to give up. They're finding new technology to keep prolonging what we think inevitably will be a crushing defeat for them. But it's that theology that they have that works on them, and it's so hard for the Western world to understand that.
It's hard for the Western world to understand violence for theology. Fucking please. Anyway, these people are shameless. They are shameless liars. It blows my mind how brazen and willing they are to flat out fucking lie to your face. It is genuinely surprising to watch this unfold. Tell me what you think in the comments. All right, let's see here. Guess we could cover Kuhneman. All right, let's hit Kuhneman. Oop. I'm just looking here. I'm sorry. 1 second. All right, awesome. Here we go. This is Hank Kuhneman. He is a supposed prophet of God. and a prophet of Trump. He prophesies on behalf of Donald Trump all the time. It's wild. Well, God has decided to visit him in the wee hours of the night and deliver his message in a new, special way that no one else has the privilege to experience God's message. God is singing to him.
But I've awakened to the Lord singing over me. I don't know if you've ever had that. I asked the Lord one day, I said, Lord, do you ever sing to your people? I said, my grandma used to sing to me. I said, I'd love it if you would sing to me someday. And one day I woke up and I heard the most beautiful sound of a male voice that I've ever heard in my life. Wow. And my whole being was...
Yes, you see, Hank Kunneman years ago told God he loves the sound of a man singing over him in the middle of the night or in the wee hours of the morning. And God, feeling very shy and not quite at that point in their relationship where he was willing to do such a thing, needed a little bit of time to think it over. After a while, God felt comfortable enough with Hank Kunneman that he was willing to do that for him. Sing over him in the morning. That's very nice, Hank.
It's just like filled with electricity and joy, and I was overcome with the presence. And
that happens to the best of us, overcome with the presence, yeah.
I remember I could barely cry out, and I said, who is this that sings to me? Mm-hmm. I said, it's the most beautiful...
Who the fuck do you think it is? It's Satan. Satan was doing it, dumbass. You thought it was God? It was really Satan. He's so full of shit, bro.
Voice. What is your name? And the word replied back to me, it is your Father who sings unto you this day.
It is so fucking cringy, dude. Oh my God, it's painful how cringy it is.
I'm telling you, Kelsey, I started crying. I said, Lord, I didn't know you sung to me. I was just kind of, I was just kind of throwing that out there as an idea to you. And the Lord said, no, I rejoice over my people with singing. If more people would ask, I would do it, Hank. So I'm encouraging the viewers to ask him, and maybe he will.
So God was ready for that step in their relationship, I guess, as it turns out. Okay.
I haven't had that happen to me since, but maybe it's because maybe I'm not asking or expecting it. But that's just, I'd throw that in there.
Beautiful.
Anyway, so let me tell you who Hank Kunneman is, if you're unfamiliar with him. I've been covering him for years. He's so cringy and terrible, dude. Listen to this clip from him. His wife is just as bad.
I said, I'm going to have Amy call. I'm going to charter a jet. Because I am so dedicated to God, and I am so dedicated to you, the people, and I am dedicated to the United States of America and to fight for it. I said, Brenda, I feel like I'm supposed to be there at all costs.
Yeah, God wants me to charter a jet, a private jet. Totally. It's for you. I'm doing this for you.
I know we're paying a lot of money here, but Brenda, I am pressed. It's like, where the Bible says Jesus was pressed to go to Jerusalem. I felt pressed that I have to do this. I don't need another thing to do. That's not why I do it. It's because I'm trying to be obedient.
I bet. You need that jet for obedience, to be obedient to God, totally.
Alongside of you and with you. And if you know me, there's no quit in me. I haven't quit. I keep pressing. So I chartered a flight, but thank you. It's very expensive. And
wonder how much it costs. Yeah, he's of course asking for donations right now, right? Hold on, let me just find out. Hang on. Chartered. How much? I'm just see if I can find out here. Just a second. Okay, to charter a jet, a one-way Omaha, Boise charter, because that's where he lives, is Omaha, Nebraska, is between $10,000 and $15,000 for one way, and the round trip is $25,000 to $50,000. A lot of fucking money? That's a lot of fucking money? That's what you'd call that? I would call it a complete fucking waste of money. I mean, you can fly first class for like $1,000 anywhere you want to go, just about, right? And he's dropping, apparently, I'm assuming he did round trip, right? He's dropping like $50,000 on a chartered flight. What? God wanted you to do that? Really? These people are weasels, dude. They're weasels. Hold on. Was that the end? No.
Yes, I loved it. I got there and I was able to do Thursday night and then Friday morning, then fly back. And I was very appreciative. Folks, we got to get a travel fund together. I went before God and I said, Lord, just give me a scripture so that I can share with the people something out of the Word that is true, that I can share with them, that sometimes a minister does have to have, watch this now, a travel plan and a travel vehicle that's dependable.
God says that he needs a travel plan and a travel vehicle, like an airplane, because airplanes are dependable. Right. Okay.
The last few times I've tried to make trips, they haven't been dependable. And I almost could not get back here in time, or I get stuck, something gets delayed. How many of you know the story there? But I want to show you Mark chapter 3, verse 9 out of the NIV. Notice what Jesus instructed. Or no, it's NLT, excuse me. Jesus instructed his disciples to what? Have a boat, what? So the crowd would not crush him. So even Jesus was concerned about going to certain ports and airports.
Yeah, Jesus was concerned with whether televangelists have private jets. Jesus would believe that they should have a private jet. Totally.
And things. He had to have smarts because of where his ministry was.
Dude, I was going to give up on this video. I'm glad I made it to the end because that was even worse than I thought. Check this clip out from Hank Kunneman. Nope, not that one. This one.
And so we're being awakened. Wow. This is what socialism looks like. I've been to Russia. I've been to Ukraine. I've been to Siberia. I've been to communist nations. I've been to those in South America, Central America. And I'm telling you, the United States, we don't understand what their agenda is, but we're being awakened to it pretty quick. And there's a lot of people.
Yeah, the left is trying to turn the United States into Russia, totally.
That voted for the Bidenites.
The what?
The Bidenites are about to be removed, right? God's going to eliminate the Canaanites.
By the way, this is in 2021. This is April 2021. Okay, this is 3 months after Trump left office and Biden took over. He was convinced all the way back then that God was going to remove Biden from office before his term was up. And he said that he was prophesying that from the lips of God himself.
The termites and the Bidenites.
Because Bidenites are like bugs, right? Anyway, hang on, let me just pull up another clip from Kunneman, actually. He's just like the lowest of the low. And Brenda Kunneman is also absolutely insane. Here, check this one out. This is from Brenda.
I can't find anything, and believe me, I've looked, anything on the left that is good to support. Okay, it's filled with lies and homosexuality and abominations. And, you know, in fact, the party, I'll just say it, the Democrat Party put straight up on their platform. That we are the party of the non-religious. We don't want God. We're atheists. That's what they've said. You could go read it yourself. They said we want nothing to do with religion. We're the party of the non-religious.
Like, the lies are so egregious. How does she live with herself, lying so brazenly like this? It is genuinely mind-blowing how willing these people are to flat out lie to your fucking face.
I'm not going to give 50% to somebody that wants to support something like that. Come on, somebody.
She's so cringy. Everybody standing up, clapping their hands into bloody nubs. Anyway, these people are awful. They're just fucking awful. Tell me what you think in the comments. 106 to 116. That one is actually really short. I should probably do another, actually, instead of... You know, why not? Let's hit... this is another from Brenda Kuhneman.
That's why the mask mandate in Omaha needs to just be gone and be done.
Let me turn it up. I'm sorry, hang on.
That's why the mask mandate in Omaha needs to just be gone and be done. Okay, it's done nothing.
This is obviously 2022, February 1st when this one came out.
You know, there's proof now that the people, you know, wearing masks, only I saw one. I mean, and again, I can't prove all these, but we're seeing the fruit of it.
You literally just said you had proof. There's proof of blah, blah, blah. What is she even about to claim? What psychotic fucking thing could she possibly have to say here? There's proof of it. I mean, I don't have proof, but we're seeing the fruits of it.
Masks, only I saw one. I mean, and again, I can't prove all these, but we're seeing the fruit of it. So I can't prove the exact numbers, but I think the mask only helped the COVID numbers by like less than 2%. So
hey, maybe that's possible. Do you know what 2% of 300 million is? The number of people in the United States. Do you know what 2% of that is? 1% of 300 million is 3 million. 2% of 300 million would be 6 million. 6 million people affected by this. Okay, when you're dealing with numbers like that, it's important to do everything that you possibly can. What is the fucking downside here? Exactly. Is wearing a mask really that big of a fucking deal to you? Do you really care that much that you're willing to put people's lives at risk?
COVID deaths were only, 2% difference from masks or no masks. Yeah, they did a lot of good for us.
Oh, she was calculating COVID deaths, not raw population. How many COVID deaths were there? Millions, right? In the United States alone, 1.2 million COVID deaths. 1.2 million, okay? So what's 2% of 1.2 million? 1, 2, 3, 8, 5, 6, 3. Oops. Times 0.02. That's 25,000 people whose lives were saved by you sucking it up and wearing a fucking mask when you're indoors or whatever. 25,000 lives. 25,000 dads who just had a baby and will never... And that baby will never see that dad again. He's fucking dead. That baby won't know their dad. 25,000 people who lost a father, lost a mother, lost a brother or a sister, or fuck it, as a Republican, maybe this will hit home, lost an employee. 25,000 people because your dumbass didn't want to wear a mask. The simplest request imaginable. And you couldn't do that. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. These people. You know why she spread this? In my opinion, I believe that these right-wing Christian nationalist nutcases intentionally spread COVID conspiracy theories because they saw their numbers going down. They saw people leaving their church because when the indoctrination is unplugged, people start to connect the dots that these people are liars, that they're scam artists, they're con artists, like their God Emperor Donald Trump. And they saw their numbers dropping. So they said, you know what? Numbers drop slower if people are dying from COVID than if people are unplugging from the indoctrination. So let's go with the slower route and just get people fucking killed through COVID, because we'll retain more people that way. That is my opinion on why these people told the lies that they did. And I know that they were lies. They were intentionally, knowingly falsifying information with the intent to deceive for at least some of these Christian nationalist pastors, Greg Locke, Kenneth Copeland, Hank Kunneman, and all these others. These people have blood on their hands. And if there is a God, if there is a heaven, after what I know, after watching these people do and say what they've said and done, and knowing the Bible the way I do, there is no chance these people are making it to heaven. No chance. With how evil that shit is. Tell me what you think in the comments. All right, that was a little bit longer. That's good. 22? Perfect. Wow, I'm really busting through this shit. I'm just looking, I'm sorry. 4. All right, let's hit some of these other stories. Hang on. 10 Commandments, focus on the family. Doug Wilson is done. What a psychotic story, that Doug Wilson thing. That was insane. Prayer in schools, focus on the family, leaving MAGA. Kunneman. Sorry, I'm just clearing some of this away. Oh yeah, and Webben. I forgot about Webben. We might as well hit Webben real fast. Yeah, Caesar. Let me see. Yeah. Got it. Okay, let's hit this one. Write down my timestamp. Webben 23. All right, awesome. Let's hit this. It's this dude named Joel Webben. Hang on, let me find a video that actually has his face in it. There's this dude, Joel Webben, who is a right-wing Christian nationalist extremist and a Nazi. About as far right as you get, honestly. And he has some mainstream appeal, some mainstream significance. Listen to some of the psychotic stuff he says here.
I think we've repealed...
this is his friend. He's doing a podcast with his friend right now.
I think we've repealed the vast majority of this post-war consensus. And now the duty is to bring 100 million people this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's the work that we're setting our mind to.
This might be too much of a big question. Maybe we need to dedicate an episode to this, because this is what I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it. But my idea is, people who believe in the Constitution have to no longer be bound by the strictures of the Constitution, so that we can save the Constitution. Otherwise, people who genuinely hate the Constitution are going to destroy it forever.
That's right. That's so well said.
And I don't know, but I don't know
so
how
that gets into strategy and application. Let's do that.
Isn't that fascinating? These people are completely down and ready to give up on the Constitution. They're done with it. They don't want it anymore, apparently. Again, he's not a nobody. He's extremely influential on the right. Listen to this clip from Joel Webben. By the by, a parent spent their lives trying to show me what it means to challenge what it means. I try to keep my parents staying their own BS. I'm not sure I fully understand. You want to at me in the chat and clarify what you mean? You don't have to send another super chat if you don't want. Although I'll take it. You know I will take it. But anyway, yeah, I really appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much.
My wife, right? I'm not telling you what to do, but it's my suggestion. This is what we do. I see it as our household vote, and that half of my vote was stolen from me in women's suffrage. And so my wife votes, but she votes alongside me.
Correct.
She votes my vote because what she's doing is, as a woman who fears the Lord and as a submissive wife, she's saying, evil men stole half of your vote and gave it to me, and I'm giving it back.
His whole goal, his whole fucking life is about trying to reverse women's suffrage. How absolutely wild is that we are here now? That people are trying to reverse women's suffrage of all things. And, like, think about what he's saying. At the end of the day, women almost always vote with their husbands anyway, right? Like, you're not going to be with somebody who disagrees with you politically, almost ever. People want to be with those who, like, align with them ideologically. You're almost always going to get an additional, or you're almost always going to have people voting together. What he wants to prevent is he wants to stop women who are unmarried from having a voice. But think about it this way. He's complaining that women are allowed to vote inside of a family when there should be one vote per family. Well, that's pretty much how it works now, right? Except families get additional voting power depending on how big the family is. If you look at it that way. You're trying to simply remove women's right to vote. You can frame it any way you want, like you had it stolen from you or whatever other shit. But at the end of the day, you're trying to prevent women from having a say. And do you know why? I'll show you why. Hang on. Let me find... give me a second. Let me see if I can find the picture. Siri, stop. Nate Silver, yeah. Nate Silver is pretty reliable. Here's if just men voted. Everything would be red. Everything, almost across the board. And here's if only women voted. Ever wonder why he wants women to not have a vote anymore? Ever wonder why? It's a political strategy. Plain and simple. If you don't know who this dude is, get ready to be horrified.
We're degenerates. We're not even close to... We're degenerates. The Constitution is not... it's not suited for governing degenerates.
That's actually exactly what the Constitution is designed for. It's designed to govern people of any moral background, any life choice, any style or skin color or anything at all. It was intentionally designed for people of any walk of life to be governed. Oh, where the fuck did he come up with this idea that it's not designed for that? What? My apologies. My mom had to have an abortion so she'd be alive, and yet she still votes against her own internets, which I'll never understand. Interests, which I'll never understand. I know. I don't understand it either. It blows my mind how people process things, how they think. Anyway, yeah, thank you for the super chats. I really appreciate that. Fucking wild, dude.
For governing degenerates, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, if you agree, disagree.
Yeah, like anybody he's going to have on is going to disagree with him on this.
But I think for our population that is degraded morally and culturally, as far and religiously, as far as we have, you need power. Men must be governed. you need a Caesar type.
Okay, setting aside the fact that he basically just said you need a dictator. That's what he means when he says you need a Caesar type. Setting that aside, that line about men must be governed, it sounded super familiar last time I heard that, and I could not remember where I'd heard that before. And I was writing my book, God's People, Christian Nationalism in the Third Reich, and discovered that the Christian nationalists in the Third Reich, in Nazi Germany, said that line, men must be governed. Men like to be governed. Now, I'm not saying he got it from the Nazi wing of the church in Nazi Germany, but that's oddly specific. Is that like sourced to something else that I'm unaware of?
You know, now if you're asking me my preference, that would probably be my preference, would be a constitutional republic. But I think the conditions for that is a moral people.
No, it's specifically not. It is specifically to govern literally anybody of any walk of life. But okay, just keep making shit up right off the top of your head. That's fine.
So I think you can work towards that in the future, but I don't think constitutioning even harder is going to get us out of our current mess.
Well, see, that's the interesting part. It is. Constitutioning harder is the solution. The problem is that people are ignoring the Constitution, like this shithead right here. Of course, quote unquote, getting out of our current problem in his mind is banning gay people from existing, banning trans people from existing, throwing them in prison, and or firing squad, getting a full-blown dictator in office, that kind of thing.
I don't see us getting out of this apart from things getting worse and worse, and then eventually like a Caesar type rising through the ranks, a populist, figure, and the people, the political will of the people that they're.
He could have just as easily said a Hitler type. That's what he means when he says a Caesar type. Now listen to his description of what he hopes this Caesar type will be, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Every attribute he lays down could apply to Hitler.
The people are desperate, and they're like, yes, do it, so-and-so, and then so-and-so, Constitution be damned, just rules with an iron fist, and like a Cromwell type, and then
just fucking say Hitler. Why are you dancing around it? We all know that's what he means.
And then you hopefully don't get his son. Maybe then you're able, and then you maybe it's just a one generation, one guy kind of thing, and
maybe, but you seem okay with the possibility that that's not the case. Dictatorships tend to turn into dynasties pretty quickly.
Then you have to move back to, aristocracy or some other form.
Aristocracy? He thinks that's the solution? The end game is aristocracy? With aristocrats at the top who control everything? What? I don't understand how somebody gets to that point to hold such a position. What the fuck? You want an aristocracy and a dictatorship first? There is something genuinely wrong with this dude's brain. Listen to this one.
If we had a Christian nation and women could vote, then within 50 years, we would no longer have a Christian nation. God has not designed women for warfare. And that's part of what politics is. It's really all that politics is.
No, warfare is literally the exact opposite of politics. Warfare is what happens when politics fails or breaks down. Like, you can't just make shit up. Words have meanings.
It's war without the blood. And I believe that the sword has been given to men. The sword is, without being crude, I think this is a fact. It is a phallus. It is.
I'm sorry. This is so fucking weird to me. What the fuck does he mean by that? Why would he say that?
Is assigned by God to men. I think nature shows that. I think scripture shows that. So both natural revelation and special revelation. War is something that is belonging to men, and it's not something that we employ in our ranks, whether it be political war or whether it be literal war, women and children. So in the same way, and people are like, that's so archaic. You're a Neanderthal.
No, it's nonsensical garbage. It's not archaic or Neanderthal-like. It's nonsense. What the fuck are you talking about?
You're so, primitive and chauvinistic. You won't let women vote. Well, our society doesn't let 5-year-olds vote yet. I pray that it, that it stays that way. But we don't let children.
So women are like 5-year-olds in his mind, is what he's saying. Women are like 5-year-olds. Fantastic.
We don't let children vote, and it's not just because of competency, because that would be the immediate counter as well. But their brain isn't fully developed, and so are you saying that a woman is like a child? Yes, but not intellectually. I'm not saying that. The question is how. In what way is a woman like a child?
Well, if it's not intellectually, then why the fuck do you care if she votes? If she's intellectually the equal of any man, then why is it bad for her to vote? I don't understand.
She is like a child in the way that God has appointed men to protect them.
I'm not following what point he's trying to make here. I don't understand. Women are supposed to be protected by men, so they shouldn't have a right to vote? What? Anyway, he's just like a vile piece of shit. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. It's just awful, dude. He just keeps hitting new lows. 26, no, 138, awesome. 23. Yeah, okay, good timing on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, awesome. All right, we're good. I'm in the safe zone. Let's see. All right, let's read this, see what him and Meta had to say. Focus on the Family has advice for estranged parents, and apology isn't part of it. If you don't know Focus on the Family, it's like this right-wing conservative Christian nutcase group. This is by Hemant Mehta on the Friendly Atheist website. Let's see what it says here. This week, the conservative Christian group Focus on the Family posted an otherwise innocuous message about what parents should do when their adult children no longer want to talk to them. Really interesting. I wonder what reason people would have for not wanting to talk to their far-right extremist Christian parents. What could be the cause there? Family estrangement, the group explained, can leave parents carrying grief, unanswered questions, and a deep longing for reconciliation. The advice is mostly predictable. Be humble, listen without becoming defensive, look for common ground, acknowledge where you've fallen short, and of course, pray a lot. Yeah, as we know, praying solves every problem every single time. Hell, it at least solves some problems sometimes, right? Focus on the Family. This is their Facebook post or whatever. Family estrangement can leave parents carrying grief, unanswered questions, and a deep longing for reconciliation. While every situation is unique, healing often begins not with winning an argument, but with choosing the relationship. Rebuilding trust may require humility, a willingness to listen without becoming defensive, and the courage and humility to acknowledge where you've fallen short. It can also mean accepting that your adult child is responsible for their own decisions while continuing to offer love, encouragement, and respect. You don't have to agree on everything to stay connected. Look for common ground, celebrate what is good, and affirm the person God created them to be. Even small steps toward understanding can create opportunities for restoration over time. Most importantly, don't stop praying. God sees what feels impossible and can work in ways we never expect. As you pursue peace, trust Him with both your heart and your relationship. If you've experienced distance with with an adult child, know that you're not alone. It's kind of rich coming from these people who caused these problems in the first place, largely. This is Hemant Mehta speaking. If almost any other group had posted that, it might have been decent advice, minus the prayer bit. Estrangement is painful, and rebuilding trust really does require humility, accountability, and a willingness to listen. It's never pleasant when your kids want nothing to do with you, especially when, in your mind, all you've ever done is try to keep them on the right track. Just one problem. This message came from Focus on the Family, a group that's done more than most to destroy familial relationships. There's no acknowledgement in that post that they're the reason many kids raised with the help of their ministry no longer want a relationship with their parents. TBH, you look so good when you wear tank tops. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Means a lot. I think so too. All right, let's continue. Just one problem. This message came from Focus on the Family, a group that's done more than most. Oh, that's a repeat. Okay. It's wild to urge others to be humble when Focus refuses to display any institutional humility. That became painfully obvious in the comments. Before we get to that, though, it's helpful to know why Focus on the Family is such a disaster for the families it claims to help. You know, I'm curious. Let's see if we can find that Facebook post. Hang on. See if I can get on their FaceSpace or My Book or whatever it is here. This is July 18th. Interesting. Just looking through their Facebook page, it looks like they're talking a lot about this stuff. Jesus didn't just forgive your past. He offers a completely new life. He's still making all things new, including you. July 18th. Let's see here. Let me just search for it in this. Really, they don't have... Did they take it down? Here we go. Right here. All right, let's check all the comments. This post speaks to me on so many levels. This hits hard. Some parents carry the silent pain of loving a child they barely get to speak to. Family estrangement can also cause the adult child who left grief, unanswered questions, and a deep longing for reconciliation. Interesting. Amen. Reconciliation requires humility, patience, and love from both sides. A beautiful post. Respect. It works both ways. Accountability can go a long way. Oh, they're so motivational, these messages. As the estranged adult child, I can tell you that this isn't a fad or a phase, and I'm not estranged from my parents to punish them. I walked away because they could not change their behavior that was causing me mental anguish. I gave my mother 27 painfully abusive years, and my absentee father 34 difficult years to do better, and I couldn't do it anymore. As my parents, they should want me to be happy, right? They should want to stop doing the things that hurt me, right? If I was doing something to hurt them, then they would have acted in kind. Interesting. Interesting point. Sounds like chickens coming home to roost. The children have been willing to reconcile. Sometimes we can do all the things discussed here and yet still nothing changes. God says, do all you can do and then stand. Okay, interesting. The cognitive dissonance is absolutely incredible, right? Just an editing note. We'll cut out the boring stuff at the start of the comments. We'll just read the interesting comments. Oh man, this hits home hard. Let's see. Needed the encouragement today. Thank you. Oh, it's so cringy, dude. All right, let's see if I can pull up the Book Forge app here. And see if we can listen. I think I have it set to the right voice. I'm pretty sure I do. Let's see here. Should take 10 seconds or so to buffer the first sentence, and then it should go to the end. See if it actually works here. Give it a second. It's working on it. Model should be loaded into memory now. Just going to take a second here. Hold on. Working on it.
If almost any other group had posted that, it might have been decent advice.
Son of a bitch. It loaded the wrong voice. That is not the voice I wanted. Why did it pick that voice? All right, let me pick Death Stalker. Should bring the model down, load it back up. Oh, God. Okay. Please work correctly. I'm begging you to work correctly. Hang on. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to fix it. Like it makes my voice hurt to read things long term, like long articles like that. So I was really hoping to get this running. If you give me just one more second. It's starting the engine again. Hold on. Almost there. Come on, you can do it. I got to configure this better so that it works faster. Now it's buffering. Should only take 10 seconds from buffer. It's got the Deathstalker voice. So
Before we get to that.
There it is. Okay, perfect.
Before we get to that, though, it's helpful to know why focus on the family is such a disaster for the families it claims to help.
This is buffer number 2. It should be fast, and then should be nonstop after that. Hypothetically. Maybe I have more reconfiguring to do. Shit! Why did it stop?
Founder James Dobson wasn't...
Why did it stop at that block?
Founder James Dobson wasn't just a conservative who endorsed sex predator Donald Trump and alleged sex predator Roy Moore. For decades, he promoted an authoritarian model of parenting in which adults maintained control of their kids through fear and pain.
Oh my God, dude. Roy Moore. Do you guys remember that dude? Didn't he, like, sexually harass a 14-year-old or something? And he was the Republican pick in Alabama or something. Yeah, it was this guy. And he's like 60 or 70 or something like that. Yeah. Total weasel.
In his 1970 book, Dare to Discipline, and later with books like The Strong-Willed Child, Dobson openly advocated beating children into submission. He began the latter book with an anecdote about beating his family's dog Siggy, short for Sigmund Freud, with a belt as an example of what you needed to do to your kids.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
Bizarre. The only way to make Siggy obey is to threaten him with destruction. Nothing else works, he wrote, before bragging about how that tiny dog and I had the most vicious fight ever staged between man and beast.
Jesus Christ. What is fucking wrong with these people, dude? This is vile.
Siggy weighed a mere 12 pounds. Dobson was 200. He closed that section with the moral of the story. Just as surely as a dog will occasionally challenge the authority of his leaders, a little child is inclined to do the same thing, only more so.
So you have to beat the child even harder than the dog? Is that the lesson we're supposed to derive here?
He later wrote, when that nose-to-nose confrontation occurs between generations, it is extremely important for the adult to win decisively and confidently. The child has made it clear that he's looking for a fight, and his parents would be wise not to disappoint him. If you assumed he would have learned better in the years to follow, that wasn't the case at all. As recently as 2015, Dobson was still encouraging parents to inflict physical pain. If spanking didn't work, he argued, it may be because you're not doing it hard enough.
That's abuse. Okay. I argue that spanking your kid at all is abuse and you shouldn't be doing that shit. But hitting them harder, that's abuse. I live in Alabama, and in some public school districts, corporal punishment's still a thing in 2026. It's horrible. That's fucking insane. You know, I would have a problem with it either way, even if it were productive, even if it got things done. But it makes it even worse that it doesn't get anything done. It doesn't accomplish what you want it to accomplish. Hitting them harder does not make people act better. Makes them hide it better. What a vile human being. That was the leader of Focus on the Family, right? That's the point here. The leader of Focus on the Family kind of defined exactly why these people's children don't talk to them anymore, right?
The spanking may be too gentle. If it doesn't hurt, it isn't worth avoiding next time.
This is a quote from him. This is what he said. Jesus Christ.
A slap with a hand on the bottom of a multi-diapered 30-month-old is not a deterrent to anything.
A slap with the hand on the bottom of a multi-diapered 30-month-old is not a deterrent to anything. A 30-month-old? What a fucking quote, dude.
While being careful not to go too far, you should ensure he feels the message. That was his blueprint for domination. It taught a lot of parents that the best relationship with their kids was always one in which the parents won. Dobson didn't just offer a shitty parenting advice. He was just as ignorant about sex, though he pretended to be an expert in that too. He promoted purity culture before a purity culture was a thing. Sex only came in one flavor, missionary style, with your wife, where the man orgasms and the woman is there.
It's there. Okay. Awesome.
In 2015, while denouncing pastors who were allies to that community, he claimed that the B in that initialism stood for orgies. I would like them to think, just for a moment, about LGBT. The B stand for bisexual. That's orgies. Are you really going to support this?
The B in LGBT stands for orgies. What is wrong with these people, dude? They are deeply broken inside.
While we're at it, Dobson blamed the Sandy Hook massacre on atheism, abortion, and same-sex marriage. He blamed a mass shooting in El Paso, Texas on the LGBTQ movement, closing in on the God-inspired and established institution of the family. He signed the Nashville Statement, which was a declaration of faith-based bigotry signed by some of the most powerful Christians in the country. He equated Obamacare to living in Nazi Germany.
Jesus Christ. You know what I heard somebody say recently? It was, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, here.
The output they want is the same thing everybody else wants. You know, safe place for my kids. I want our streets to be safe. I want people to have dignity, blah, 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 blah. We all agree on that. The point is that their formula to get there has never, ever, ever worked, will never, ever work. And what we do actually produces what they're asking for. The one guy said, I want to, you know, our healthcare system under capitalism is terrible or whatever. We don't have a capitalistic healthcare system right now. We have a socialist healthcare system in America, thanks to their candidate, Barack Obama. So.
Yeah, the United States has socialized healthcare. It's socialized medicine in the U.S., you see. Right, totally.
You know, listen, we know that capitalism, biblical principles.
Point is, these people like to portray Obamacare as socialism. It's fucking delusion.
Dobson's entire career was devoted to scaring Christians. Too dumb to realize that Dobson had no clue what he was talking about. His parenting advice was awful. His sex advice was awful. His political advice was awful. His idea of love involved hitting your kids, lying about gay people, and promoting violence against trans people. As Kristen Cobes Dumez wrote in Jesus and John Wayne, Dobson corrupted a faith and fractured a nation.
That's so interesting, right? Like, focus on the family. You wouldn't think it would have that much power, control, or influence over our existing system, but these people work behind the scenes in like insidious ways to do really devious shit.
Dobsucker eventually stepped down from focus on the family and later died, but the organization never meaningfully reckoned with the damage he caused. It may be less influential than it used to be, but it still reaches countless families with the same basic message. Conservative Christian parents are right. The outside world is dangerous, and children who reject those beliefs have gone astray. It's also why the responses to that post included many comments from parents who still don't understand why their kids have abandoned them.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we went through the comments, and it was a lot of people saying they don't understand why they're dealing with this, and it's so hard, and their children just don't want to be around. Well, really? You have no clue what could possibly have caused the situation that you're in? You're completely in the dark. You couldn't even guess?
Like this one, who condemned his son's sinful lifestyle choices and refused to speak with his son's closed door.
Oh, and refused to speak with the son's woke therapist. Hold on.
Like this one, who condemned his
I'm just going to cut this out since I just read it.
Son's sinful lifestyle choices and refused to speak with his son's closed door therapist.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck it was trying to say just now. Another commenter chimed in to say he was in a similar situation, but she refused to bend the knee to woke behavior. Our son cut us off and says he won't have a relationship with us until we attend therapy with his woke therapist and put our stamp of approval on his sinful lifestyle choices. In this case, our hands are tied and we are not giving in to his demands. Therefore, there is no peace. Despite this, I refuse to allow his decision to rob me of living a full life. He'll always be our son, and we love him, but this is his choice, and we cannot change it, and we won't compromise our beliefs to satisfy him. This is basically identical to what my mom said. She effectively said to me, you are choosing not to be a Jehovah's Witness, which means I can't talk to you. She's changed her tune, and she's willing to talk to me now. But that's what it was for about 15 years or so. I was a teenager when I left the religion. A kid. And I can no longer, and after that, she wouldn't talk to me for like 15 years. I am in the same predicament with my daughters who want me to change my beliefs and convictions and bend a knee to woke behavior. I pray every day their eyes are opened to the lies they are being fed and run into the arms of Jesus. Nobody wants you to change your beliefs, quote unquote. I don't think anybody gives a fuck if you change your beliefs. Don't shove them in other people's faces constantly. Mind your own fucking business at a bare minimum. Can you not even manage that? Can't you be a normal fucking human being for 20 minutes and not make MAGA a core piece of your identity all the time? For your kids. You can't do that for your kids? It's fucking insufferable, these people. Like, they don't get it. They will never get it. And these poor kids, dude. Like, I completely understand. I went through the exact same thing. Only it was over Jehovah's Witnesses instead of MAGA. They, refused to talk to me. I lost everybody and everything I ever loved. Because they won't just be normal human beings and interact like a regular person would.
Another commenter chimed in to say she was in a similar situation, but she refused to bend a knee to woke behavior. Another commenter insisted a crazy woke therapist has damaged my adult child's mind.
Not true not true of all, and it hurts so much when I have loved my daughter for 39 years and been there anytime she needed me. I'll never understand this pain. When someone will not sit down and talk, there's not much you can do but pray. No one can stop me from that. No one's trying to fucking stop you from praying. Please get help. I'm not without mistakes, but one thing I know, my daughter was loved and cared for, but a crazy woke therapist has damaged my adult child's mind. I did not even know who I'm sorry. Wow. Was this person drunk when they were writing this? It sounds like it. I did not even know who she is now. So much hate. I'll do everything to fight for my daughter and this cruel mindset that's for the most part not even founded in real truth. I'll keep fighting for my family and my precious 3 grandsons who have been put in this mess. They miss me and I miss them.
In all those cases, it seems their children tried to explain their concerns to their parents, sometimes with professional help on their side, only to have the parents dismiss it all as ideological corruption. They wanted reconciliation, but refused to do any work on their end to get there. Then there was this...
Yeah, did they even read the fucking Facebook post? I get the impression they didn't even read it. The point was that you have to approach it with humility, and you have to choose the relationship and not the argument. That's literally what the Facebook post said, right? Did they not read it at all?
Mother who said her 38-year-old daughter wouldn't talk to her because all the concussions the daughter said she suffered.
Right. Wouldn't talk to her because of all the concussions the daughter said she suffered.
Which led her to seek support groups and therapy. The mother blamed the daughter's personality disorder and said she attended those support groups because she likes the attention. So he
says, my 38-year-old daughter has been spending years in support groups and counseling. One of her main complaints is I gave her many concussions growing up. Holy fucking shit, dude. Sadly, I think she has a personality disorder you can't heal without truth. What did you do to your precious daughter that requires her to be in support groups for years, right? What the fuck?
So even when the abuse involved literal brain injuries, the parent still cast herself as the victim. Another mother blatantly admitted she abandoned her son because he's gay, before arguing he was so disrespectful and that's why he was now dead to her. I have put him in God's hands now. One commenter made the absurd claim that her 19-year-old child identified as a transgender bug, and that a therapist affirmed this.
Oh, fucking please. A transgender bug. That's not how being trans works. Nobody believes they're a fucking bug, please.
There's no reason to believe that happened. But instead of challenging her obvious anti-trans conspiracies, focus on the family, replied with a link connecting her to one of their counselors. In other words, this group did exactly what they told parents not to do. They validated defensiveness, avoided any kind of accountability, and reinforced the very bigotry that likely underlies the estrangement. The cognitive dissonance is absolutely incredible, one person wrote. Another added, maybe Focus on the Family should shoulder some of the blame. Nope, they put it back on the kids.
Just a side note, this is really good TTS, right? I am very impressed with this engine and the model that I built. It's like flawless, it feels.
One person directly called out parents who followed Dobson's teachings. If you raised your children according to the teachings of James Dobson, this is likely going to be the outcome for estrangement situations. His teachings were abusive, plain and simple. You can use it as a playing victim to a game.
So you can't sit around playing victim to a game you willingly played with your children. TTS isn't perfect, but that's pretty good, I think. Just insane, bro.
Game you willingly played with your children. One person tried to talk sense into commenters, but received no takers in the replies. This post disappointingly strengthens abusive parents and helps them to continue in their blindness, further extending the estrangement.
So this says, oh, it's about to read it.
Until Christian organizations wake up and realize family estrangement is because the adult parents are stunted emotionally at a toddler age and counseling doesn't even touch the root cause. There needs to be 2 4-year intensive program to grow the estranged parents up in a methodical way.
So until these organizations wake up and realize family estrangement is because of the adult parents, this isn't going to change. Nothing's going to change.
Why doesn't someone wake up that therapy doesn't work when a person has no self-awareness? Even that person, though, suggested Focus on the Family could devote resources toward this problem, ignoring how focus is sometimes the root cause of the problem.
They are always the root cause of the fucking problem. I mean, they do nothing but cause problems in these organizations. You know why? In part because it's an extremist, or let me rephrase, it's a radical organization that is trying to push people as far right as possibly imaginable. Being a normal, moderate, regular human being is unacceptable in the eyes of the people who wrote this post in the first place, the Focus on the Family people. You can't just be a normal human being. It has to take over your identity completely, fully and completely. And when that happens, you are bound to clash with other people, no matter what. When something fully takes over your identity, Jehovah's Witnesses, Focus on the Family, whatever it is, assuming that thing isn't just like an immutable characteristic of who you are, like being black or gay or something, it's always going to cause problems for people. When your identity is an immutable characteristic and you have a conflict with somebody over that immutable characteristic, it is always the other person's fault. It is not your fault for being black. It is not your fault for being gay.
The bottom line is that a lot of these parents assumed their kids would grow up to become like-minded conservative Christians and were never prepared for the possibility that their kids might disagree with the core ideas they're an agent, Minam Sur, and...
Oh boy, it's giving me gibberish. Yeah, that's a training problem. I got to fix it. Bottom line is that a lot of these parents assumed their kids would grow up to become like-minded conservative Christians and were never prepared for the possibility that their kids might disagree with the core ideas their churches and ministries, like Focus, drilled into them. That one failed because it's longer than 450 characters, probably, and that's kind of the limit. Like, it starts to stretch its attention span at that level.
Promise. This is the central problem with ministries like Focus on the Family in these situations. They frame estrangement as something that happens to parents rather than as a consequence they brought about by listening to Dodson. They refuse to admit estrangement is a boundary some kids established after years of rejection and abuse. That, before accounting for the physical abuse, sexual shame, and emotional trauma that groups like Focus normalized. Even in families without overt abuse, Children learned that they were only ever going to be loved by their parents if they voted a certain way, married a certain kind of person, and led the life their parents chose for them. Then those kids grew up and realized they didn't need to play along with this version of conditional love. If that means not coming home for Thanksgiving or allowing their own children to interact with their grandparents, so be it. That's what happens to parents who care more about focus on the family than focusing on their families. If Focus really wanted to help these parents, they would admit their mistakes and hire better experts in raising children to rewrite everything they ever taught. It won't solve the problems they caused, but it could prevent future mistakes from happening again. The children who walked away didn't destroy these families. If anything, they were the first ones willing to break the cycle of abuse, and they should be commended for that.
Interesting. Interesting article. Damn. Focus on the family. What a bunch of shitbags. They're completely in the dark. They have no clue what they're saying or doing or talking about. They are making things more miserable for people every single day. And those people are probably never going to reform a relationship with their children. Because they don't even see what's gone wrong. They're still in the dark. Clueless. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Absolutely sad. Okay, that's where I'm going to call it for the night. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. It's been fun. And I will talk to you guys on Wednesday on my Unfiltered channel, okay? Can't spell hatred without red hat. Recycled white supremacy, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you guys. Talk to you next time.